Imagine yourself standing in a world where the noise never stops. There's the constant hum of social media, the clamor of opinions, the endless stream of distractions pulling you in 100 different directions. Amidst all this chaos, have you ever wondered, where is the space to truly listen, to reflect, to breathe? Cardinal Robert Sarah's The Power of Silence is more than just a book. It's an urgent invitation to pause, to stop the noise, and to journey inward to rediscover the divine power of silence. In this captivating work, Cardinal Sarah doesn't simply ask you to withdraw from the noise. He beckons you to embrace silence as an act of spiritual rebellion against a world drowning in superficiality. This isn't just about finding quiet spaces. It's about reclaiming the sanctuary of your soul. Sarah guides you into the sacredness of stillness, where words fade away, and what is left is something eternal, something profound. Your deepest connection to God, to yourself, and to the very essence of life. Imagine this, the kind of silence where you can actually hear your heart beating, where every breath feels like communion with something greater. In that silence, there's a voice, not the loud voice of the world, but the soft, tender whisper of God. Can you hear it? Cardinal Sarah believes that in our modern world, we've lost the ability to listen, not just to each other, but to God. This silence, this stillness, is where God speaks. It's where He reveals His truths, His peace, and His love. The book takes you deeper into this concept, showing how silence is not an absence but a presence, a profound presence of God's love, wisdom, and grace. Cardinal Sarah shares his personal experiences, times when silence became a lifeline, a place of refuge, and a source of indescribable peace. His words are soaked with emotion, with passion, and with an unwavering belief that we can only truly understand ourselves in the embrace of silence. Now think about this. How often do you run away from the quiet moments, distracting yourself with the noise of daily life? What if, instead of running, you allowed yourself to sit in the stillness and simply be? This silence, as Cardinal Sarah explains, is where you will find God waiting for you with open arms. It's in this sacred space that you'll experience a peace so profound it surpasses all human understanding. A peace that washes over your soul and fills the deepest corners of your being. For anyone struggling to find a sense of calm in the midst of life's chaos, Cardinal Sarah offers a beacon of hope. He reminds us that silence is not something to fear, but something to cherish. It's a gift, a retreat, a spiritual practice that has the power to transform your life. If you've ever longed for a deeper connection with the divine, or simply yearned for a moment of true peace, the power of silence will guide you there. It's not just a book. It's a call to rediscover the sacred power of quiet, a call to listen with your heart, and a call to allow silence to lead you into the arms of God. Silence is often overlooked in today's fast-paced world, but its impact on our mental health, relationships, and overall quality of life is profound. In a society driven by constant noise, both external and internal, silence offers something powerful. A chance to reset, reflect, and reconnect with what truly matters. Mental health. Finding peace in stillness. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with information, silence serves as a refuge for the mind. Imagine how freeing it would be to step away from the noise, the never-ending emails, social media updates, and notifications. Silence is a mental detox. It allows us to clear the clutter in our heads and make sense of our thoughts, providing us with the mental space needed to process emotions and experiences more clearly. Think of the mind as a lake. When it's constantly disturbed by the winds of noise and distractions, the water becomes murky. But in stillness, the water clears, revealing what lies beneath. The same happens with our minds. In silence, we can finally sift through the tangled web of thoughts, identifying the stressors, fears, and anxieties that need addressing. It allows us to acknowledge and manage difficult emotions rather than suppress them, leading to improved mental clarity and emotional resilience. Moreover, silence gives us the time to recharge. In our hustle culture, rest is often undervalued, but moments of silence act as mental and emotional nourishment. Studies show that people who incorporate moments of quiet reflection, such as meditation or even just sitting in silence, experience lower levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. Silence helps to slow down the brain's overactive thought processes, reducing the mental exhaustion that often leads to burnout. It's in these moments of stillness that we can reconnect with ourselves, ground our emotions, and find the inner peace that is so often missing in our hectic lives. Life. Rediscovering purpose and balance. In the rush to meet deadlines, achieve goals, and keep up with endless demands, it's easy to lose sight of what really matters in life. Silence offers a much-needed pause button. It's a chance to reflect on our choices, values, and direction. Are we living authentically, or are we just moving through life on autopilot? Silence gives us the space to ask ourselves these important questions and rediscover our purpose. When we are constantly surrounded by noise, we can feel disconnected from ourselves, like we're living someone else's life. Silence helps us return to our center. In these quiet moments, we can listen to our intuition, reevaluate our priorities, and make more intentional decisions. It encourages us to slow down and live more mindfully, focusing on quality rather than quantity. By embracing silence, we can also rediscover the simple joys of life. The quiet moments of reflection over a cup of tea, the peace of watching a sunset, or the beauty of just being present in the moment. Silence teaches us that we don't need constant stimulation to feel fulfilled. It's in the quiet, unhurried spaces of life where true happiness and contentment often lie. Relationships. Deepening connection and understanding. Silence plays a pivotal role in fostering deeper, more meaningful relationships. In a world where everyone is talking but few are truly listening, silence allows us to shift our focus outward and be more present for those we care about. When we engage in conversations with loved ones, silence gives us the opportunity to really listen. Instead of waiting for our turn to speak, we can pause, absorb, and reflect on what the other person is saying. This creates space for empathy, understanding, and genuine connection. Silence is a powerful tool in communication, not in the absence of words, but in the presence of intention. When we are silent, we are not just hearing words, we are listening to the emotions, the context, and the deeper message behind what is being said. Moreover, silence can diffuse tension in relationships. In moments of conflict, when emotions are running high, silence allows us to take a step back, breathe, and think before responding. It helps us avoid saying things we don't mean or escalating an argument unnecessarily. It's in these moments of stillness that we can approach disagreements with calmness and clarity, leading to more constructive and thoughtful conversations. In romantic relationships, silence can foster intimacy. We often associate connection with constant talking or doing activities together, but being comfortable in shared silence is a sign of a deep bond. Whether it's sitting together quietly, watching the world go by, or simply enjoying each other's presence without the need for words, silence nurtures a quiet, profound connection that transcends the superficial. Rediscovering the sacredness of silence in a noisy world. In The Power of Silence, Cardinal Robert Sarah invites us to confront a pressing issue of modern times: the overwhelming amount of noise that has become a constant in our lives. This noise isn't just the loud sounds we hear daily, like cars honking, music blaring, or the endless stream of notifications from our phones. It's also the mental clutter, the never-ending flow of thoughts, anxieties, and distractions that fill our minds. Cardinal Sarah raises a crucial question. In the midst of this constant noise, how can we possibly hear the gentle whispers of God? Cardinal Sarah presents a profound reflection on the nature of silence, urging us to understand that silence is far more than just the absence of sound. It is a state of being, a space where we can truly meet ourselves and God. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with information, media, and responsibilities. We rarely take time to stop, breathe, and reflect. And yet, it is precisely in those quiet moments, when we turn off the noise, that we can encounter something greater than ourselves. But Sarah doesn't stop at describing silence as a luxury or an optional retreat for those who are overwhelmed. He makes a powerful case that silence is absolutely essential for our spiritual well-being. Without it, we risk losing touch with God, with our inner selves, and with the deeper meaning of life. In a world where noise rules everything, whether it's the physical noise around us or the mental and emotional chaos we carry inside, it has become harder to connect with the divine. The Cardinal argues that this constant bombardment has dulled our spiritual senses, making it harder for us to hear the quiet voice of God, who speaks to us in moments of stillness. He paints a vivid picture of how this noise has infiltrated every aspect of our lives. With technology at our fingertips, we are always plugged in, always distracted. Social media, endless entertainment, and the pressures of modern life have created a world where silence is increasingly rare, and this, according to Sarah, is dangerous for our souls. We are not just losing silence. We are losing the ability to experience God fully. The divine is subtle, often speaking in ways that require attention and quiet, and yet we are drowning in distractions that prevent us from listening. Cardinal Sarah introduces us to a deeper understanding of silence by emphasizing that it is not simply about finding a quiet place. True silence is a spiritual practice, one that involves an intentional turning inward. It's about carving out a sacred space within ourselves, where the external noise fades, and we become more aware of the presence of God. Sarah speaks of silence as a kind of sanctuary, a refuge from the distractions of life, where we can rest and reconnect with what truly matters. Historically, silence has played a central role in spiritual practices across many religious traditions. Cardinal Sarah draws our attention to the Desert Fathers, early Christian monks who retreated into the wilderness, away from the noise and distractions of the world, to seek communion with God. In the stillness of the desert, they found clarity, peace, and a deeper connection to the divine. They believed that it was in the emptiness and silence of the desert that they could hear God's voice most clearly. Similarly, monastic traditions have long recognized the importance of silence. Monks in various religious orders practice silence as a daily discipline, using it as a tool for contemplation and deepening their relationship with God. Silence in these settings is not merely about avoiding speech. It is about creating an internal space where the soul can reflect, meditate, and grow in its understanding of divine mysteries. Cardinal Sarah takes us deeper into this idea by exploring the theological significance of silence. He argues that silence is not just a partner to the spoken word of God. It is necessary for truly receiving and understanding that word. While words allow us to communicate and express our beliefs, silence provides the fertile ground in which those words can take root. It is in the silence that we can ponder, reflect, and allow God's truths to settle into our hearts. This is a crucial point. Silence is not passive. It is active. It is not about doing nothing. It is about making space for something greater, something sacred. In the silence, we make room for God to speak, to guide us, and to transform us. Cardinal Sarah emphasizes that without this silence, we are merely skimming the surface of spiritual life. We might hear the words of scripture or prayer, but without silence, we miss the deeper meaning and the opportunity for those words to truly change us. In today's fast-paced, noisy world, Cardinal Sarah's call to rediscover the sacredness of silence feels urgent and necessary. He doesn't just see silence as beneficial, he sees it as vital for our spiritual survival. Without silence, we risk being swept away by the distractions of modern life, losing touch with the things that matter most: our relationship with God, our inner peace, and our ability to live meaningful, intentional lives. Sarah argues that we need to reclaim silence as a spiritual discipline, not as a nostalgic relic of the past, but as a transformative practice that is just as relevant, if not more so, today. In a world where noise dictates the pace of our lives, Finding moments of stillness is essential for reconnecting with the divine and with ourselves. So how do we rediscover silence? Cardinal Sarah encourages us to start small by intentionally creating moments of quiet in our daily lives, by disconnecting from the constant stream of information, and by seeking out spaces where we can be alone with our thoughts and with God. He challenges us to view silence not as a void to be filled, but as a powerful space where we can encounter the divine. Silence is not empty. It is full. It is full of God's presence, full of peace, full of potential for growth and transformation. Cardinal Sarah's message is clear. In a noisy world, we must make the deliberate choice to seek out and embrace silence, not only for the sake of our own peace of mind, but for the sake of our souls. Silence is where we can truly hear God's voice, and in that silence, we find the peace that transcends all understanding. The spiritual dimensions of silence. Encountering God, Chapter 2. In the power of silence, Cardinal Robert Sarah deepens his exploration of silence, revealing its profound spiritual dimensions and its ability to lead us into a more personal, transformative encounter with God. In today's world, where noise and distractions pervade every corner of our existence, silence becomes a precious gift, a doorway to divine communion that we must actively seek. Cardinal Sarah emphasizes that silence is not merely the absence of noise. It is a state of openness and receptivity, a sacred space where we can truly encounter the presence of God. One of the most powerful aspects of silence, as Sarah explains, is its ability to strip away the superficial distractions of life, allowing us to focus on what is truly important, our relationship with the divine. In silence, the soul becomes more attuned to the subtle movements of God, the gentle nudges and whispers that can often go unnoticed in the noise of daily life. Cardinal Sarah teaches that it is in these moments of quiet that we can open ourselves fully to God's presence, allowing Him to speak to us in ways that go beyond words. Throughout Scripture, the importance of silence is repeatedly emphasized, particularly when it comes to moments of divine revelation. One striking example comes from the story of Elijah's encounter with God on Mount Horeb. Elijah, who had fled into the wilderness to escape the pressures and dangers of his prophetic calling, sought refuge in a cave. He was told to stand on the mountain and wait for the Lord to pass by. First, there was a powerful wind, but God was not in the wind. Then came an earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake. Finally, there was a fire, but God was not in the fire either. After all the noise and chaos, Elijah heard a gentle whisper, a still small voice, and it was in that moment of profound quiet that he encountered God. 1 Kings 19:11-12. This story beautifully illustrates the lesson that Cardinal Sarah conveys. It is in the stillness, not in the noise or the dramatic moments of life, that we are most likely to hear the voice of God. Cardinal Sarah also draws on the rich tradition of Christian mysticism to further underscore the spiritual dimensions of silence. The saints and mystics of the Church, figures like St. John of the Cross and St. Teresa of Avila, dedicated their lives to silence and contemplation, finding in it a path to deep spiritual union with God. St. John of the Cross, in his writings on the dark night of the soul, speaks of a profound silence that strips away all external and internal distractions, leaving the soul alone with God. It is in this silence that the soul undergoes purification, a process that leads to a deeper, more intimate communion with the divine. Similarly, St. Teresa of Avila speaks of the transformative power of contemplative prayer, where silence plays a crucial role in allowing the soul to listen to God with the ears of the heart. Cardinal Sarah explains that silence is not an empty void. It is a space full of presence, God's presence. In silence, we move beyond the surface level of vocal prayer, which, while important, often keeps us focused on our own words and thoughts. In contemplative prayer, silence allows us to go deeper, to a place where words are no longer necessary, and we can simply rest in God's presence. This form of prayer is a kind of listening prayer, where the soul becomes more attentive to God's movements and promptings, rather than speaking its own thoughts and desires. It is a prayer of the heart, a prayer that transcends language and opens the soul to the fullness of divine love. This idea of heart-to-heart communion with God is at the core of the spiritual dimensions of silence. Cardinal Sarah suggests that in silence, we enter into a kind of spiritual dialogue with God that is beyond words. Contemplative silence allows us to gaze upon God with love, and in return, we receive the gaze of God upon us. This exchange of love, which takes place in the stillness of the heart, is deeply transformative. It changes us, making us more aware of God's will, more attuned to His presence in our lives, and more capable of embodying His love in the world. Silence, as Cardinal Sarah points out, is also a powerful tool for spiritual growth. It is in the silence that we can truly reflect on our lives, our choices, and our relationship with God. Without the constant noise and distractions, we are able to see ourselves more clearly, to recognize the areas of our lives where we need to grow, and to become more open to God's transformative grace. Silence purifies the soul, stripping away the layers of superficiality that often cloud our spiritual vision. In the quiet, we are able to confront our weaknesses, our sins, and our shortcomings, and in doing so, we allow God to enter into those places of brokenness and bring healing. Cardinal Sarah also highlights that silence fosters the virtues of love, patience, and humility. In the silence, we learn to wait on God, to trust in His timing, and to surrender our need for control. We become more aware of God's presence in the present moment, and this awareness helps us to cultivate a deeper sense of patience, both with ourselves and with others. Humility, too, is born in the silence, as we come face to face with our own limitations and recognize our dependence on God's grace. Ultimately, silence is a sacred space where the soul encounters its Creator. It is not a place of emptiness or absence, but a place of fullness, where God's presence is felt most profoundly. Cardinal Sarah's reflections on silence challenge us to see it not just as a spiritual discipline, but as a fundamental necessity for our relationship with God. In a world that is constantly pulling us in different directions, silence offers us the opportunity to center ourselves in God's love, to listen to His voice, and to be transformed by His grace. For those who seek a deeper relationship with God, Cardinal Sarah offers a simple but powerful invitation. Embrace silence. It is in the quiet moments that we can hear God's voice most clearly. It is in the stillness that we can encounter His love most deeply. And it is through silence that we can experience the transformation of our souls. In the end, Cardinal Sarah reminds us that silence is not just an option. It is essential for our spiritual journey. It is in the silence that we find the fullness of God's presence, a presence that speaks to us, transforms us, and leads us into a deeper, more close relationship with Him. Chapter 3. Silence in Everyday Life. Here, Cardinal Sarah draws on examples from everyday life to demonstrate how silence can be a powerful tool for personal growth. He talks about how, in moments of quiet, people can step back and gain perspective, leading to more thoughtful and measured responses to life's challenges, whether in times of stress or moments of reflection. Silence allows for introspection and helps individuals reset their priorities. The chapter encourages incorporating regular quiet time into daily routines to reflect on personal goals and challenges, enabling a deeper connection with oneself and others. Chapter 4. Silence as a Path to Self-Awareness. This chapter emphasizes the role of silence in fostering self-awareness and mindfulness. In a world that demands constant attention and immediate responses, silence offers a retreat that allows us to understand our own needs, strengths, and limitations. By embracing silence, we can better focus on what truly matters, becoming more centered and balanced in our lives. Sarah encourages using silence as a way to prioritize what's important and to let go of distractions that prevent us from achieving our true potential. Silence helps to cultivate self-discipline and focus. Chapter 5. Embracing Stillness in Difficult Times. Cardinal Sarah reflects on how silence can be a powerful tool during times of hardship and struggle. He explains that silence allows us to process difficult emotions, regain control of our thoughts, and find inner strength. Instead of reacting impulsively to challenges, silence encourages us to reflect and respond with calm and wisdom. The chapter teaches that in moments of difficulty, stepping back and embracing stillness can lead to greater resilience and emotional clarity. Silence provides space to process pain and find peace amid the chaos. Chapter 6. Silence in Relationships. This chapter explores how silence plays a key role in fostering deeper and more meaningful relationships. In conversations and interactions, silence allows for better listening, empathy, and understanding. By quieting our own thoughts and being fully present, we create space for authentic connection with others. Sarah discusses how incorporating silence into communication can lead to more thoughtful, compassionate relationships, helping individuals move beyond superficial exchanges to more genuine interactions. Chapter 7. Quiet Moments of Insight. In this chapter, Sarah emphasizes the idea that some of life's most profound insights come during moments of silence and stillness. When we take the time to disconnect from distractions and noise, we can tap into creativity and inspiration. Silence opens up a space for new ideas, revelations, and understanding. The chapter encourages cultivating quiet moments in everyday life, whether through meditation, walks, or simple reflection, to unlock deeper insight and problem-solving abilities. Chapter 8. Silence and Personal Transformation. In this final chapter, Cardinal Sarah connects silence to personal transformation and growth. He suggests that embracing silence leads to a greater understanding of oneself and the world, enabling change and growth. Silence allows for introspection, self-improvement, and an enhanced ability to navigate life's complexities with grace and wisdom. The book concludes by urging readers to see silence not as an absence of activity, but as a powerful and necessary part of personal development. Silence becomes a tool for gaining clarity, achieving peace, and transforming oneself into a more thoughtful, centered individual. Overall themes. Silence as a tool for clarity. Silence provides a break from the constant distractions of life, allowing us to think more clearly and focus on what truly matters. Personal growth through quiet reflection. Moments of silence foster introspection, self-awareness, and emotional resilience. Silence in relationships. Quieting our minds and listening attentively can lead to deeper, more meaningful connections with others. Transformation through stillness. Silence allows for personal transformation, creativity, and wisdom, offering the space needed to grow and thrive in a noisy world. Motivation to embrace silence. It's easy to be afraid of silence, especially in a world that equates being busy with being successful. But silence is not a void. It's an opportunity. It's a space where we can reconnect with ourselves, build stronger relationships, and lead a more balanced and intentional life. Imagine how much more present, calm, and in control you could feel if you welcomed moments of silence into your life. Imagine making decisions with a clear mind, engaging with loved ones with full attention, and finding peace even in the busiest of days. Silence offers all of this and more. So take a moment to step back. Turn off the noise. Close your eyes. Breathe. Let the silence wash over you. It may feel strange at first, but in that stillness, you will find the clarity, peace, and strength that have been waiting for you all along. Embrace silence not as an escape from life, but as a tool to enhance it. Let it be the key to unlocking your mind's potential, deepening your relationships, and leading you toward a life filled with balance, peace, and fulfillment.